Hi, everybody. This is Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. It's Monday, August 18th, 2025. 2025. I got it right this time. This is an update for the All Hazards Consortium Sensitive Information Sharing Environment, where we share information across platforms so the public sector and the private sectors can stay in touch and on the same map at the same time. This is an overall weather briefing for hazards impacting the United States. This briefing is going to be exclusively for Hurricane Erin. Every time we see a forecast, the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, and then we look at some different model runs, there are a whole lot of model runs, and I am not going to show all of those model runs to you because we stick with the official Hurricane Center forecast. It has nudged ever so slightly further to the west, and that has put the Outer Banks of North Carolina in the crosshairs for experiencing some of the more extreme side of Hurricane Erin. Most of the hurricane is going to remain offshore, which is great news, but it is an expanding hurricane. We're seeing winds, tropical storm force winds, expanding further out from the center, and that means that it's going to impact more coastal areas. The big story here with this storm is going to be waves and surge that come up with this storm because hitting at high tide, impacting multiple tide cycles. We're going to get into that, and I'm going to show you here in just a minute. This is the high resolution GOES satellite image. And yes, we do have Hurricane Erin. It's over a lot of warm water. Temperatures are not going to be a factor now as we talk about whether Erin is going to increase or decrease in intensity. The main factor is going to be wind shear, and that is expected to pick up in the next 48 to 72 hours as Hurricane Erin makes its way towards the southeast United States and then starts to curve. Well, let me show you what this looks like. Well, let's take this full screen so I can show you because this Erin is a monster. Let's give you the statistics on Hurricane Erin right now. The 5 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. Erin is a major hurricane, a Category 4 hurricane. Tropical storm and storm surge watches have now been issued for the North Carolina Outer Banks. Erin was located at 24.0 north, 71.3 west. That's about 695 miles southwest of Bermuda and 815 miles southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Maximum sustained winds, look at that, 140 mile per hour winds, and the minimum central pressure, 937 millibars. That has come up slightly. The movement to the northwest at 10. Notice there's no west-northwest anymore. The center of the storm kind of wobbled a little bit westward earlier today, and that's why we're getting a little bit more concerned with the path that Erin is going to take. The next advisory will be issued at 11 o'clock by the National Hurricane Center. And let me point some things out here. This is the Turks and Caicos Islands right here. And so you're getting some very strong winds and some very large waves into the Turks and Caicos Islands right now. The good news is, as Erin pulls off to your north and west, the winds will change direction and start pushing those waves offshore a little bit. So that is good news. But the southern part of the Bahamas, you are on the western edge of the storm, but the winds are from the east and northeast and north, and that is going to be pushing a lot of waves into the eastern Bahama Islands right now. So what we're looking at here is a increase in wave action all the way up through the Bahamas. Even though Erin is expected to stay well offshore, that tropical storm wind field is expanding. Let me point out to you where Nassau is. Here is Nassau. I'm going to circle it right here. That's Nassau. And it is somewhat protected by Governor's Harbor and Rock Sound, some of the longer islands. And it looks like you won't have huge waves in Nassau. You do have a fetch. Places like Cat Island will begin to protect you from those strong easterly waves, and that is good for you folks in Nassau. But you still may get some tropical storm wind gusts from the outer bands of Hurricane Erin. Erin, once again, 140-mile-per-hour winds. We don't expect it to intensify much further than this. We have another hurricane reconnaissance flight that'll be headed in there shortly from the 53rd Weather Squadron. And then the NOAA Hurricane Hunters will pick up some duties tomorrow doing more research missions as well. But Erin is certainly very impressive looking on the satellite imagery, and you can see these warm ocean temperatures. All of these temperatures here in the mid 80s, if not higher. The Gulf Stream comes right on here out of the Gulf and right on up the East Coast. And so we have a lot of warm water being pumped up from the Caribbean and the Gulf. So let me take the statistics off so we can talk a little weather here. Just up to the north, and I'm going to bring this satellite picture just up to the north so we can see what's going on. We have a lot of wave action. It is starting to pick up here along the Delaware and Maryland coastline and also southern New Jersey. You see this frontal system here. I'll drag this down a little bit further, that has cleared out New England a lot. These are high, thin cirrus clouds moving over New York State right now. But this frontal system has kind of stalled over the Maryland and Delaware area, where we have a small low pressure system that is hanging out off the coast, bringing northeasterly winds from 20 to 25 miles per hour. And that is causing significant waves to build up. I'm going to show you that here on the Bethany Beach camera live in just a few minutes. Let me take you a little bit closer to Hurricane Erin and show you what it looks like with the water vapor channel, the lower level water vapor channel from goes east. Now, don't get too worried here about all this red. We've just colored dry air in dark colors, in the dark red, and moist air you can see coming around the hurricane here. That is a lot of moisture. There's not a whole lot of dry air around the area right now over southern, northeastern South Carolina, out to the ocean a little bit. There's some over South Florida. That doesn't mean it's so dry that, there's not a cloud in the sky and you're not going to see any storms. But what we were seeing a little bit earlier today is just a little bit of dry air. See how much outflow this hurricane has to the east, to the south, to the southwest, but a little bit less to the northwest here. There was some dry air that got in there today. It's mixed it up just a little bit. That's why you don't see this beautiful eye that sometimes you see in Category 4 hurricanes. We do have a central dense overcast, but it looks like that dry air is not really winning out. So it is going to be building back a little bit with some moisture. The good thing is, though, as Erin moves to the northwest and then curves to the north, we shouldn't see much in the way of strengthening. But we're talking about a Category 4 hurricane with a very broad wind field that's expanding. Let's take a look at the 1 minute GOES satellite imagery and what that looks like here. This is a close-in look. I put the latitude and longitude lines on the satellite imagery here, and you can see 72.5 west, 25.0 north, and here's 70 degrees west. Here's some strong thunderstorm activity that's building again around this eye wall around Hurricane Erin. Again, 140 mile per hour winds. I wouldn't be surprised to see it fluctuate over the next 36 to 48 hours, but the general trend with Erin should be to decrease in intensity. I'm not too excited about that. You know why? Because what drives storm surge and waves is the size of the wind field. So we're looking at GeoCollaborate here. What I've displayed is the wind field radii. Right here is hurricane force winds, storm force winds of about 50 knots, and tropical storm force winds of 35 knots. And then this area is getting larger as the storm moves further to the north. Now, I want to show you something pretty interesting here over the last 24 hours. We've been diving into some of these NDBC buoys, the National Data Buoy Center from the National Weather Service. And I want to show you this particular buoy right here, 41046. Look at this. Winds are gusting to 38, 39 miles per hour. That's tropical storm force. So that's what the National Hurricane Center uses to help define this radii of maximum winds. But I want to dive closer into this buoy because they report waves, but it doesn't pop out here in this dialog box. But I do want to show you in full screen, and I'll point this out here. I want to point out all of the waves and what's been going on here at this particular location. Now, I know it's a lot of text. Just bear with me for a second because I'll point that out here. This is a camera. There's a camera on this buoy, and on a normal day, the horizon should be flat across here, should be flat. But the buoy is being tossed around by some major wave action. And you can see sometimes it looks this way, sometimes it looks this. Don't stare at it too close because it might get you a little seasick out here. But here's what else I want to look at. Look at this, 6:40 p.m. So right now the time is 7:12. So about 30 minutes ago, look at the wave action. It wasn't reported, but at 6:20, the waves were 23 feet at this buoy location. 23-foot waves, and the winds were blowing quite hard. Again, we popped it out there at 27 knots, so 39 miles per hour or so, and that winds gusting to 36 knots, actually. So that's about 40 miles per hour. But the waves have been consistently large. Look at this a little earlier, 25.6-foot wave, a 24.3-foot wave a little bit earlier at about 5:20 Eastern Time. This is what the buoy looks like out there floating in the ocean. It's a moored buoy, but indeed it is getting clocked right now. And so I'm going to go back to GeoCollaborate full screen because I want to show you what it looks like from the standpoint of another wave drifter. This is a great story. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. These two buoys were dropped out of the NOAA P3 aircraft yesterday when they were returning back to Lakeland, Florida, and they dropped these two buoys out of the drop-son chute right out of the back of the plane. And this is what it looks like when they do that, when they drop this wave drifter out. Look at that. It comes right out of the tube, spins a little bit, deploys a parachute, and goes right down into the water, separates from that tube, and then it starts deploying data. And look at the data that's coming in right now. 25.5-foot waves ahead of the hurricane force winds, even in just the tropical storm force wind area. So folks, this is what is critical for ocean observing. We wouldn't know out here how far out these waves extend unless we had these kind of drifter buoys from Scripps Oceanographic Institute, all part of global ocean monitoring. And this is going to save lives because we can now communicate to you emergency managers that are watching right now and others. The sea heights are picking up, and they're picking up dramatically. Look, there's another drifter just to the north. This one, 18.5-foot waves. The dominant wave period of 14 seconds. The mean wave period of 9.5 seconds. What does that mean? It means that every 9.2 seconds or 9.25 seconds, an 18.5-foot wave comes by. That is not enough to catch your breath if you were out there in the open ocean. Thank goodness you won't be, but we do have waves that are forecast to be breaking in the surf zone along the Outer Banks of North Carolina at heights of 15 to 20 feet. That is going to cause a lot of damage. We can now communicate what the wave height is by looking at this live data to the north of the storm right now. Here's another buoy just to the north. It's showing the winds gusting to 29.2 knots, and the air temperature 86, water temperature 86.5 degrees. It is plenty warm. Now, I want to go just to the north a little bit because I want to show you, I told you the last couple of days that there was a cruise from UNCW, University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and they went out of Wilmington, North Carolina, and they deployed these buoys, these blue ones with the white tops. These are other wave drifters. See, it looks the same as down here that were dropped out of the NOAA P3 aircraft. And I'm going to zoom in on here because we're going to take a quick look. Here's one that drifted all the way down here so far. Here's one, and we're looking at the wave heights. Not bad. 5.1 feet, dominant wave period 12, mean wave period 8 seconds. Up to the north a little bit. Look at these wave heights. 5.5 feet. Get a little bit closer to shore. 6.2 feet, a little bit closer where the shelf is. 4.3 feet. So these drifters are going to be hanging out here. Some are in the Gulf Stream. They're going to be taken to the north. But as Erin approaches, we're going to see the wave heights increase dramatically by monitoring this data. And while we're talking about the ocean data and the waves, we brought in Dr. Ellen Prager to talk about the impacts that these waves are going to have and what you should know about them. We recorded this just a little bit earlier. Let's take a listen. Although it's not expected to make a landfall, Erin is going to produce dangerous conditions offshore and at the coast. Let's bring in our own expert, Dr. Ellen Prager, to find out why. Ellen, thanks so much for joining us. What's going on at the beach and what's going on with these waves? They look pretty bad right now in Bethany Beach, Delaware.
Wow. Well, thanks, Dave. Anybody who's going to be on a ship or in a boat in the open ocean, whether you're north of Puerto Rico, off the Bahamas, off the U.S. East Coast, and west of Bermuda, needs to be paying attention to Erin. Same with anyone living or visiting the coast in these areas. You're right, the forecast models show extremely high waves in the open ocean. Inside and around the storm itself, that's where the waves are generated, and you get what's called a confused sea. But as waves propagate away from the storm, they actually sort themselves into sets of longer, faster waves and shorter waves traveling slower. But we know what people really want and need to know is how big are the waves going to be and what kind of conditions are created. In the open ocean, that depends on the strength, direction, duration of the wind, and the area the wind is blowing over. That's known as the fetch. So think about this. Strong winds blowing over a large area like Erin's huge wind field for a long time create bigger waves. And that's why tropical storms and hurricanes can create rough seas and high waves far away from the storm itself.
So you have the added factors of the storm moving. It's a very strong low pressure system, ocean buoys and drifters in the open sea. As part of an integrated ocean observing system, let us see what's happening out there. I've been looking at them all day. Here's what some of them look like today.
That's right, Dave. These ocean observations, they are really critical for maritime safety. They're used for input into models and to validate forecasts. We need these ocean observations.
So what about when the wave approaches the coast, Ellen? What determines how high that wave's going to be?
Boy, Erin is really setting up some very dangerous conditions along the coast, especially along the U.S. East Coast. When waves reach the shore, the depth shallows and they tend to slow down due to friction. This causes the waves to steepen, they can pile up on shore and create dangerous surf, flooding, and a surge. Even if a storm is not very close, it can be very far away and these things happen. They can also generate dangerous rip currents and cause serious beach and coastal erosion. It's kind of complicated by the changes in depth and the nature and the shape of the shoreline.
So let's take a look at a beach cam in Bethany Beach, Delaware. Conditions are already going downhill with rough surf. There's hardly any beach there right now, and the water is starting to pile up on shore. Even though this is not directly related to Erin, Bethany Beach is starting to get water all the way up to the dune. And with Hurricane Erin churning out there, people need to stay aware of the potentially dangerous conditions and out of the water and prepare for potential flooding, high waves, erosion, and rip currents. Nobody should be out in that water right now for sure. NOAA's rip current probability forecast is all lit up and down the coast.
Yeah, Dave, let me jump in here. I'm really concerned about this. These conditions are going to be very dangerous. And for anybody who's watching, please share this with your friends, whether they live in the area, maybe visiting, or they're planning to go. Do not try to surf, swim, or even walk on the beach to observe the waves. The conditions, they're just not going to be safe. And sometimes, even when you think the waves don't look that big, they can combine and create bigger waves, what we call sneaker waves. And these can knock people off jetties or off walkways. It's really dangerous. So please, I hope people are going to take these warnings seriously.
Well, thanks a lot, Alan. I'm going to put some links in the chat in the message area on the YouTube channel with links so you can click on them and check out waves and conditions around where you are as well. It's all part of the integrated ocean observing system, and you can check out the data yourself. I want to show you what it looks like with all the marine traffic coming across the Atlantic and trying to get into ports before this hurricane strikes. Take a look at this. This is all of the marine traffic here, and look at this big hole right here. Can you tell where Hurricane Erin is? I think so. This is just incredible. A lot of ships that are trying to get into port really quickly, try to harbor safely behind the Bahama Islands, and then otherwise get out of there so they can do it rather quickly. Some ships are coming on the back side of it, trying to get into some of the Caribbean islands as well. But what a spectacular visualization right here of the marine traffic in the Atlantic right now because of Hurricane Erin. Okay, now let's talk about wave action, because this is going to be the big story as Erin makes its way up the East Coast offshore, but still will be very impactful up and down the shoreline. So this is what I'm showing you here in this visualization. This is the European model, the ECMWF model, starting at about now. And I want to take this up and show you what it does with these wave heights. Well, that's what we're looking at, wave heights. We're getting into Tuesday at about noon right here, and you can already see the wave heights picking up. I'm going to take this little pin and put it right over off of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, so you can see the wave heights change as we go into Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening. Look at the wave heights in Myrtle Beach as we get with this storm coming closer and closer. 9 feet by Wednesday around 11 o'clock in the morning. 11-foot, 12-foot waves. We're talking Wednesday afternoon, early evening at 6 p.m. 12-foot waves. This is in the surf zone. And so as the storm moves up the coast, I'm going to take this pin and move it right on up to Wilmington here. 12-foot waves coming from the east with a period of about 13 seconds. Let's go up to the Outer Banks in Cape Hatteras. 21-foot waves could be impacting the Outer Banks of North Carolina on Thursday around 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is the European model forecast. 19-foot waves on the Outer Banks of North Carolina when this storm is just to your east. That is going to be devastating. Let me take it back here to 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock there now, and switch it over to the GFS model. and see how the waves change. The GFS is forecasting 22-foot waves on the Outer Banks of North Carolina by 9 o'clock Thursday morning. Folks, this is going to create serious damage up and down the Outer Banks of North Carolina. That is why there's a mandatory evacuation for Hatteras Island. Take a look at what it looked like earlier today. This picture was taken from the Department of Transportation at North Carolina as people were trying to get out of Hatteras Island. We're talking here now Thursday. Today's Monday. These waves are going to be building up and building up. The forecast obviously could still change as the storm either gets closer to the coast or a little bit further away. But the GFS model is forecasting 22-foot waves Thursday at 9 a.m. What about Norfolk and Virginia Beach? 14-foot waves, 13 to 14-foot waves in Norfolk and Virginia Beach. That's going to cause some damage in certain areas and some overwash. What about up towards Ocean City, Maryland? 12-foot waves on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. If we take this up a little bit further to 12 o'clock, 15-foot waves by noon on Thursday in Ocean City, Maryland. What about Bethany Beach, Delaware? Go up to Bethany Beach, 13-foot waves there in Bethany, and all the way up into New Jersey, 14-foot waves off of Atlantic City, and then Long Island. What about New York and Long Island? We'll take it a little bit further up here where waves are going to continue to build there. And we're talking about 11 to 13-foot waves. This is going into Friday morning. Now let's go up to the Cape. How about Cape Cod up here? 10 and 11-foot waves. What about Rhode Island? 8-foot waves. Let's take it back just a little bit and see if the waves change in Rhode Island as the storm is approaching anything above 8 foot. There's 9-foot waves. So the entire East Coast is going to be battered tremendously by these waves. I said I was going to show you the live camera at Bethany Beach, Delaware. I'm hoping it's not too dark to see the condition of the ocean right now, but take a look. Take a look at this area of high waves that is just like a finger pointing right into Delaware and into Ocean City, Maryland right now. Let's take a look at what that looks like, because this says 6-foot waves, and I believe that's indeed what we saw in Bethany Beach, Delaware. This is what it looks like right now. Look at that. There's not much of a beach at all. The sun is setting. Let me zoom in a little bit here to the waves, and you can see what's going on. High tide was at 4 o'clock when the waves were coming all the way up to the bottom of the dunes there. And so there's a little bit of beach that you can see right now, but waves are still coming up. These winds are going to continue. This is not associated with Hurricane Erin. This is that frontal system became stationary right over the beach area here and into the lower eastern shore of Maryland, and that is causing these northeasterly winds to push water into the beaches. So we're talking 5 to 6 foot waves. So that's an accurate forecast by the model, by the GFS model here. It is dangerous to swim here. You heard what Ellen said. Do not swim in water like this. It just looks really bad right now in Delaware, and it is not going to get any better as Hurricane Erin approaches on Tuesday, Wednesday, into Thursday. Okay, that's it for this update now, but I do want to go over some key points and what you can expect, especially those of you that may be watching along Hispaniola, perhaps in the Turks and Caicos, and also in the Bahamas. So bands of heavy rain you can expect over portions of Hispaniola this evening and through Tuesday for the Turks and Caicos. The southeast Bahamas as well, and the easternmost central Bahamas. Flash flooding and urban flooding is possible because those spiral bands will be impacting you. Tropical storm conditions are expected in the Turks and Caicos and in the southeast Bahamas through this evening. Tropical storm conditions are possible in portions of the central Bahamas tonight through Tuesday. Erin is expected to produce life-threatening surf and rip currents along the beaches of the Bahamas, much of the U.S. East Coast, Bermuda, and Atlantic Canada during the next several days. This is a huge storm that has widespread influence. Beachgoers in this area should follow the advice from lifeguards like don't go in, local authorities, and beach warning flags. For unguarded beaches, if you see those red flags out there or you see that white water like you just saw in the Bethany Beach camera, don't even attempt to go in the water. Tropical storm conditions and coastal flooding are possible in the North Carolina Outer Banks beginning late Wednesday, where tropical storm and storm surge watches are in effect right now. Interests in Bermuda should also monitor the progress of Erin, as strong winds are possible beginning on Thursday. That's it for this update. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. I appreciate your attention. Thank you for all your comments. We'll be putting links that we mentioned in the video earlier into the comments section so you can check out some of those sites as well. We'll be back tomorrow. This has been an update for the All Hazards Consortium and the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment. Please watch out for yourself and watch out for your neighbors. Share this video with anybody that you think could benefit from it and tell them to listen and don't go into the ocean or even near it, especially during times of high tide. Thanks for watching. Be safe. I'll see you tomorrow.